Hello everybody, it's the Raven Knight, and it's a little bit of an interesting setup, isn't it? This is actually how I work on my computer. I sit in my special chair with my keyboard and everything right in front of me, and I just go to work. But anyway, this is my 10,000 subscriber Q&A session. Now what's really funny about this is, before I reached 10,000 subscribers, I sent out a message to everyone saying, hey, go ahead and get your questions in, and I'll answer your questions as soon as we reach 10,000. And that very same day, I reached 10,000. I didn't think it would happen that same day. I thought it would take another day or two. But then after we reached 10,000, I thought, okay, I'll give them another day to get their questions in. And sure enough, at the end of that day, I broke 10,300. And so I'm like, wow, this is moving really fast. So I gave y'all some time, get all your questions in. Now some of you might be wondering, why am I doing this in a video and not in a live stream? Well, the reason is because I have a lot of fans from around the world who say, hey, whenever you do your live streams, we're asleep or we're busy and we can't interact, we can't do anything. So we wanted to have our opportunity to ask your questions too and be responded to. And that's a fair point. So I decided that for this Q&A, I'm going to do it in a video format. No real fancy editing or anything. It's just going to be me talking to you. And I will occasionally look up like this because that's where my screen is. And my camera is below my screen. So don't be surprised if I look up to read a question and then I look back at the camera. Okay, guys? So I got a lot of questions. So let's get started. So the very first question that I have is, from Alpha Male 82, what got you into learning history? Funny thing is, I got asked this question a lot, and I'm going to try not to answer it too many times, but here's what got me into history. When I was growing up, I loved history. I thought it was one of my favorite subjects, but I had this mentality of once I'm done with it in school, I don't need to learn it anymore. But my brother was very different. My brother was a history major in college. He really fell in love with history in a way that I didn't quite get. But whenever we'd have meals together, because we were in college together, he would always talk to me about this cool history fact that I never knew, and I wanted to know more. So soon I got tired of just going to him for questions, and I decided to go research it myself, and that made me fall in love with it. I began watching documentaries, I began finding books and articles to read, I began analyzing history from a more objective and personal perspective. I began gaining new understanding about history, and then as I was going through college, I started taking an Asian culture and history course. Well, it wasn't really a course, it was a minor, so I took multiple courses in it. But I began learning things that even my brother didn't know. And it felt really cool to be able to sit down and talk with him about things that he didn't know. You know, being able to teach other people about history was amazing. And to learn history from a new perspective was awesome. And so I just fell in love. History is just something that I find so amazingly fascinating. And it all started because I wanted to know more. It was this desire for knowledge. So I hope that answers your question. That's what got me into history. Next question from Dragonborn4217. What motivates you to do YouTube and or play For Honor? Okay, good question. It starts with For Honor. So I started playing For Honor the day it came out. As soon as it dropped, I started playing it. And the reason why was because it was historical, and it dealt with different cultures and peoples that I had studied. Knights, Vikings, Samurai. It was something that I really, really liked. And I know a lot of people got tired of it. There was a dark age of For Honor where everyone was kind of leaving it and abandoning it. I did not. I stuck with it because I loved it so much. So what motivated me to keep coming back to For Honor was I thought that For Honor, you know, there's no other game like it. I'm never going to find another game quite like this. It's a fighting game that I can actually get into because I never really got into, you know, stuff like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, these kind of two-person scroller fighting games. I never got into those combo button mashings, but For Honor, even if everyone else was leaving, oh, we don't want to play the game anymore, I could play against the AI and still get the same entertainment that I really wanted, and I just always loved it. It was something that I still loved, and now that For Honor's getting a resurgence, people are coming back to For Honor, I still love it. I still love it. I never left, so people always go, dude, you're over 600 rep, how are you that way? Do you just not have a life? No, I just didn't put it down. You know, I just didn't uninstall it like so many other people did. I kept playing, I kept learning, I kept growing to love the game. Now, as for YouTube, what inspired me to do YouTube, I was a teacher for a while, and that didn't work out, and I still wanted to share my love for people, for history, and for people, and for growth. I wanted to share what I knew, and For Honor was, during the dark days of For Honor, when everyone was kind of leaving it, saying, oh, dead game, uninstall, we don't want to play it anymore. When that was going on, I got really upset. I was like, come on, guys, this is a great game. What we really need is we need some positive content for Honor. I want to make some positive content. So I did. I said, let's do the For Honor analysis series. And I worked from there, and now it has grown into this thing that it's so much more than I could have ever thought about. It's grown into something amazing. And I think that is the best way I can explain why For Honor and YouTube both were inspirations to me and what I've been doing with it. So I hope that answers your question. Next one. Canadian asks, what inspired you to start your channel? I didn't really get inspired to start a channel. It was a class requirement. When I was in college, we had to do a project where we made a YouTube video and we answer a question or we explain something. It's probably still somewhere on my channel. If it's not, I'm going to delete it, okay? It's kind of an embarrassing, cringe video, but whatever. We had to do this project, and I liked the project. It was very fun to do, even if it is a bit cringe. But after that, I didn't think I'd ever use YouTube again. But then when I started thinking about making For Honor content, I thought, I already have this YouTube channel. Let's make something of it. And I didn't think anyone would watch my stuff. I thought I'm just going to be one of those no-name channels that only gets maybe 10 or 15 subscribers. Now look at me. It's amazing. But that's what started it. Okay, next. Shot by a Shark asks, what made you want to start to learn about medieval warfare and weapons? It goes back to my love for history. I have always found fascination in sword fighting and armor and medieval combat and stuff like that. My brother also got me to some degree interested in it because we both were studying up on our ancestors who may very well have been Knights of Malta. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. What kind of stuff did they wear? Like, how did they protect themselves? How did they fight? Whenever I watched Star Wars, I didn't really care about the blasters. I cared more about the lightsaber duels. Whenever I watched Pirates of the Caribbean, I cared a lot more when there was a sword fighting scene. I don't know. I was always gravitated to sword fighting. I just thought it was like so cool. I thought it was some of the coolest. I thought it was some of the coolest stuff you'd ever see. And that's what drew me to it anyway. And so I've been studying it ever since. I hope that answers your question. And next one, the G-Dog asks, my question to you is, what sparked your interest and love for writing and history? What moment made you realize that this is what you wanted to do with your life, and subsequently continue doing in your life, even if you're not a teacher? Okay, that's a good question. So, what specific moment? I don't think there was a specific moment for writing or for YouTubing or anything like that. I think it was more of a gradual desire grew. See, when I was growing up, I had a lot of comics and TV shows that I loved to watch. But I was one of those kids who wasn't satisfied with just watching it. I wanted to be part of it. It's one of the reasons I think I like One Piece, It's a world where you can easily insert yourself. But I always wanted to be part of the worlds that I saw. And so I wanted to write myself into these worlds, which slowly grew into a love for writing. I think that I had this Teen Titans comic where there was a page in the back that was blank. I think it may have been a printing error. But I remember doodling myself appearing in the comic on that page, which I think got me started into making comics, which then got me started into making stories. Now, as for YouTube and history teaching and stuff like that, I realized that I wanted to teach when I realized that it was the only avenue left for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself when I was in college. I love history and writing, but there aren't a lot of great career opportunities that involve both, so you kind of had to make a choice. So that's what that came down to. Not a big fancy answer. I don't think there was one specific moment. I think it just gradually came to my knowledge. I think God slowly put that on my heart, which I'm glad he did. It's been a wild ride, and you know what? If he didn't, I wouldn't be here right now. So thanks for the question. Magos Domino says, have you ever... how were you introduced to 40K? That was my brother's doing. And I don't know how he got into 40K. Hey, bro, how did you get into 40K?
Kind of a long story, I guess. I really, after Star Wars kind of fell out for both of us, what happened was I sort of needed to scratch for the sci-fi itch, and I occasionally saw a few 40K stuff being posted on social media. Okay, what's that? Then I started seeing a lot of the fan-made stuff for on YouTube for like the Space Marine series and some of that stuff, and I was like, okay, what is this? And that drove me to start digging into more information. Then when I was going through the MAT program, one of the guys there, he was very big into 40K. He actually collected the miniatures and everything, so he sort of helped catch me up on all the lore and stuff and what was currently happening. And from then I just was kind of hooked, and that's when I started buying the 40K books.
And for me, it was more of just, listening to him talk about it, and then eventually I just decided to look into it. You got me interested in the Caiaphas Cain series, which is one of my favorite book series ever. It's so awesome. I highly recommend it. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out on like Amazon or iBooks or whatever. I'll figure out a way. But it's really cool. Definitely recommend it. But yeah,
definitely the audiobooks.
Yeah, the audiobooks are the best. But yeah, that's what got me into 40K. It was him always talking about it, and he got into it because I guess Star Wars was going downhill for us, so we decided to find something
After
new.
The Last Jedi, I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
And 40K was there to comfort me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so next question. Stone Cold asks, do you plan on making a video about your medieval weapon collection? Sure. Let's make that a milestone video. Yeah, I don't mind. Noise Tank asked, would you consider doing YouTube full-time if given the chance, and would your brother also consider doing it as well? Here's the thing, guys. I would love to do YouTube full-time. That would be a dream come true. But the problem is, money-wise, it can't work. Right now, I think, at most, I have made $500 a month off of YouTube. And that's not nearly enough. I would need to make $1,000 a month, or over that, to be able to do this full time, as in drop all my other work and do this full time. And I don't have that subscriber base yet. I don't have that viewer base yet. I'm not there. Once I tell you what, once I start making $1,000 a month, then I will quit my job and do this full time. But it has to be consistent. I have to be making $1,000 a month because I got to pay the bills. I would love to do it though. It would be awesome. And maybe if I had my brother's help, it would be awesome. But you know, it can't happen right now. One day, maybe. One day, maybe. But at the rate we're growing, maybe in another year. Who knows? Next question. Dunpap. Have you ever thought about writing a book? I have written a book, actually. I have 2 books published, and a third one about to be published. One is called Written Stone. It's a short story. And then another one is called Death's Diary. Now, I've been rewriting Death's Diary. I'm rewriting that because I'm not satisfied with my first publication, so I'm going to edit it and release it as a new publication, as a brand new Death's Diary. The third one that I'm working on to get published is a book called Shogun of Crime. And Shogun of Crime, I think I talked about that in one of my update videos. I don't remember which one exactly, but I do talk about it. It's a really fun story, but I have been published, and I do write books. So, and I want to get more published. I want to make some money off of that. So, yeah, I write books. Yeah, it's really fun. Next question. A Goblin. Are there any future collabs you're working on or have planned? You mean with other YouTubers? Slanderous and I have been working on this kind of project together of Heroes versus Heroes, where he brings forth 2 For Honor heroes, and then we both talk about how we think who would actually win in a one-on-one fight. Those are really fun. I enjoy doing those, but they're on his table. They're whenever he wants to do them. I am planning a collab with Slanderous in the future, talking about the realism of breach mode, and talk about how real it is. I'm not done planning that out yet. I'm thinking about the best way to approach it so that it isn't an hour-long video, because I could spend almost an hour talking about breach. So we'll see how that works. But right now, I don't have any other collabs planned for the future right now, because I don't know enough people. I'd love to do collabs, but I just don't know enough people. Number 2. Still from A Goblin. What games are planned for the future? Dead by Daylight is planned for the future. I may do some Far Cry. Talk about that some, or Far Cry Primal. I'll definitely be going back to Skyrim once I get that fixed on my Pooter. I got a lot to fix on my Pooter. Yeah, those are the ones I've got planned right now. Maybe more in the future. And then, will your brother start his own channel or just upload on yours? Right now, I think, hey bro, do you have any plans to upload on your own, or do you want to just keep using mine? I don't mind either way.
Right now we're gonna stick with just uploading on his, just because you guys know where to find the stuff. Because if I start uploading on mine, then the notifications won't quite go out to everybody. Yeah. Not to mention, on my own channel, I have stuff that I actually use like for my history class, or at least I did. Now that I'm changing curriculum, I probably don't use this anymore, and so that'll probably confuse a lot if you start scouring my channel going, why does he have Romans fighting Carthage just for no reason whatsoever? Because it only makes sense in the classroom setting when I'm explaining it to kids.
Fair enough.
For right now, and that might change later, but for right now, we're sticking with this.
Could you hand me my bottle real quick? And a little parched over here. Thank you. Talking a while, and this will happen. Much better. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. To the next one. Ecstatic Ethan asks, Raven, what anime series would you recommend to watch? I have a lot. Okay, so it depends on what you're looking for. I love One Piece. I think One Piece is my favorite anime, but I recognize that it is over 900 episodes. So I would recommend reading the manga first. But it is a good one. I really like One Piece. I also recommend Goblin Slayer. That's a good one. I recommend Rising of the Shield Hero. Those are good action fantasy style anime. If you're looking for more slice of life anime, I really like My Roommate is a Cat. That's a really fun one. Let's see. That time I got reincarnated as a slime isn't that good. It started out good. It's not good anymore. I also like Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple. That's a good one. Rurouni Kenshin, also a good one. An old one, but a good one. And Ranma 1/2. I can't talk about anime I really like without talking about Ranma 1/2. That's so funny. It's such a good one. Ranma 1/2, I think, is probably the anime that started martial arts comedy style anime. It's very funny. I highly recommend that one. The creator of Ranma 1/2 also created Inuyasha, if you know what that is, and I find Ranma way better than Inuyasha, so definitely give that a watch. Those are good ones. You really have to tell me what kind of anime you're looking for, because then that'll help me narrow it down, because there are lots of anime that I enjoy, but they're all very different. So anyway, Raven, it's still from Ecstatic Ethan. Raven, if you were to build yourself in a fantasy world, how would you look like, and what are your equipments and arms? I encourage you to go to my Discord and read my lore on the Raven Lord, because I've already done this. I talk about how the Raven Lord, my OC, is this king or prince in a fantasy world that he's trying to bring peace to it. He looks exactly like my avatar does. You know, the heavy armor, the sword. Yeah, so definitely give that a look, because that's my answer to that question. Just a Penguin asks, as someone who wants to do more writing, what is the most important piece of advice you can offer? The most important piece of advice I can offer in terms of writing is don't be afraid of bad ideas. Okay, that's an important one. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of times what'll happen is you'll get an idea, right? And then your first thought is, no one would want to read that. Okay, I want you to take that thought and throw it in the garbage. And here's why I say that. Because even if it's true and no one would want to read it, you have to ask yourself, would you want to read it? I think one of my favorite quotes from Clint Eastwood, if you don't know who Clint Eastwood is, I pity you. But one of my favorite quotes from Clint Eastwood is, I don't always know if people would like to see the movies I make, but I think I would like to see them. And that's what matters. The question is, would you want to read the story you're about to write? I think one of the problems a lot of people have in terms of writing is they have approach avoidance. It means that they're afraid to go into it. My dad I had the same problem with publishing. When I was writing Death Diary, my dad would just say, son, do you want to publish this? Yes, then do it. But no buts, just do it. You know, and I think that's the same thing here. In terms of writing, don't let bad ideas hold you back. You need to ask, okay, do I think this idea is bad because no one will want to read it, or do I think it's bad because I don't want to write it? If your answer is because I don't think anyone will want to read it, that's a bad reason. Don't be afraid to write what you want to write. And I know that sounds really weird. Is that really the best advice I can give? Yes, because believe it or not, once you get past that threshold and you just start writing, a lot of the rest will fall into place for you. But so many people get held up by that first initial roadblock that they never get anywhere. So that is my piece of advice. Senior Zuzu asks, do you see YouTube as a viable career, or at least a good place if you want to teach something to people? Kind of answered that, but I'll say it can be. I know plenty of people who are on YouTube who make their whole careers off of YouTube. I think it can be a viable career, as long as YouTube keeps its hand out of my wallet. I think that it can be a place to start a career and allow me to do the things that I love. It just requires me to be more publicly available, and I'm not yet. Auntie asks, what made you play For Honor, and what makes to continue playing it and making videos on it? I kind of answered that. I continue making videos on For Honor because I still love it. Yeah. Captain Roosevelt asked, do you think that making a sequel to For Honor would be a good idea? Yes and no. Yes, because I think that if you make a sequel to For Honor, you have a lot of new faction possibilities. You have a lot of new map possibilities, new story possibilities, and the For Honor developers can fix a lot of the previous errors that they made. kind of a fresh start sort of thing. The problem, though, is people like me who sunk tons of hours, energy, and money into the first game. Would that come up dividends in a sequel? Would any of the things that I purchased or put time into in the first game transition well into a second game? That's why they didn't make a Rainbow Six Siege 2, because so many people sunk time, energy, and money into that game. And now we're seeing what's happening with Rainbow Six Siege, but that's neither here nor there. But point is, I think it would be a cool thing, maybe not a great thing. I would be very disappointed if they released a For Honor 2 and I didn't see anything transition over. So that's my position on that. Next, Regulator 2000. Favorite medieval European historical figure? Ooh. I don't have a favorite. It really depends on the context, the time period, and the place. But there are a lot. I love Richard the Lionheart. He's a badass. He's definitely awesome. But he's kind of obvious, isn't he? Carolus Rex. He's kind of badass. But would he really be medieval? No, he wouldn't be.
He's way after medieval.
Way after. Yeah, you're right. Way after. I'm trying to think of good medieval figures, man, that we both really like. That like
how we go with our relative Charles Martel.
Yeah, Charles Martel. Okay, fair enough.
Charles the Hammer, no more British invasions Martel.
Okay, yeah, Charles Martel's up there. I wasn't going to name him my favorite because he's kind of obscure, but
I might also I would say Charles Martel's obscure. I would also throw out Alfred the Great if we want to go more into cut.
Alfred the Great was medieval?
I mean, technically, it's like if you include Dark Ages in there, then yes.
Okay, fair enough.
It's got that Viking.
Yeah, okay. No, I see your point. I didn't think about Alfred the Great in medieval. Shows what I know. Anyway, yeah, those would be our answers to that. I definitely like Charles Martel as an answer. The Hammer.
Gotta love it. It's like a wrestler.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, IGNG says, "Hey Raven, do you think Sanhu's weapon should have been the Xion instead of the Meow Dao?" Yeah. Still waiting on the Xion weapon, guys. And he kind of has the look. Whenever I think of a Xion warrior, I kind of think of what Sanhu looks like. I don't know why they went in the Meow Dao. It's such an obscure weapon. Moving on. EU. I don't know how to pronounce that. Have you seen the Metro 2033 book series? And if yes, what are your thoughts? I have not seen it, so I have no thoughts. I apologize. I can't have thoughts on something that I know nothing about. Sorry. I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just like, I haven't heard of it. No, I won't sign your armpit says... No, that's really his name. No, I won't sign your armpit says, do you have any particular historical inaccuracies that bother you more than others? There's a long list of historical inaccuracies that bother me. Many of them having to do with Christianity in history. People who say that that religion is the cause of all wars. That bothers me. I hate that argument because that leaves out... I think maybe 30% of the wars in history were fought over religious causes. No, maybe not even 30, maybe 20.
3%.
3%?
3%, that's the study I saw.
Oh, so my brother did a study and found that
I didn't do the study, I read the study.
You read the study, and it's 3% of all wars in history are fought for religious reasons. So that's a big misconception.
1% if you take out jihad.
I also hate the idea that Christianity is a religion of violence and suppression. There is absolutely no evidence for that. The only way you could look at it is through the Inquisition, and even then, that's such a limited area in the world. I hate the misconception that knights are violent and extremists, and I've already done 2 videos responding to that idiocy. I hate the idea that America is just a colonizing, warmongering, imperialist nation state. I hate that. I think that that's incredibly false. These are some that just really get under my skin. And I know some people would argue if they get on your skin so much, then maybe that means that they're real and you're just getting butthurt. No, they get under my skin because they are arguments without any standing. They are arguments built on stupidity. They are arguments built on people with hatefulness in their hearts that are not willing to do any research outside of a quick Tumblr search. And let me be clear, if you're getting your historical facts from Tumblr, I have no respect for you. Alright, so those are just a few. Peyton Markell, I think I said that right. In all seriousness, where did you get your education from and in what areas? Okay, I can tell you this. After high school, I went to Anderson University, South Carolina, where I studied for about a year and a half. Left there, went to Midlands Technical College, which was about a year-long study. I went and got my core courses there. Then I went to Coastal Carolina University near Myrtle Beach, which was awesome. Loved that school. That's where I got my interdisciplinary studies major and my Asian studies minor. And I also stayed there to get my master's degree in teaching. So those were my areas of study. Now, if you're talking about martial arts-wise, I've been all over the state for that. I studied Muay Thai while I was in Anderson. I studied karate as a kid, and then later on, after Anderson, I studied capoeira while I was in high school. I studied kung fu, kind of on and off here and there. I studied swordsmanship under a master in Anderson as well. I don't count that one as much because I kind of was doing it on the side with Muay Thai, and I was actually competitive with Muay Thai, not with swordsmanship, so there you go. And currently, I am trying to get into a HEMA school, which is a lot of fun. So those are kind of my areas of study. Merkava MK IV says, if you were to be the lead writer of For Honor's lore team, what would you do? Well, if I were the lead writer in For Honor's lore team, I would start taking this crap in a new direction, okay? Actually, I might be tempted to say, all right, everything you knew, scrap it. I'd also try to get For Honor and Glory and make that a legitimate thing. You know, that'd be a lot of fun. Joking aside, if I were the lead writer on For Honor's lore team, I wouldn't be walking down this easy binary. I don't mind Horkos and Chimera being the main bad guys and good guys. I don't mind them being the two competitors. What I hate is that it's such a binary. I hate that it's a light and dark thing. Horkos is obviously the edgy evil group. Chimera is obviously the pure good group. Chimera is all about diplomacy, working together, voting, democracy. Horkos is all about tyranny, dictatorship, might makes right. It's very obvious which side we're supposed to root for. Which I think is funny because I feel like if you just made both have their flaws and better qualities, it'd be much better. But I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's a little silly. I also wouldn't make one faction the de facto villain group. Like, oh, the Horkos, all knights are bad. I had a person actually comment saying, the reason Horkos warmongers are knights is because knights are naturally evil in history, which goes back to the misconceptions that I think annoy me the most. But in terms of what I would change, there's a list. Eric Bless. Hey Raven, a long time ago you talked about the idea of a fictional world where you and the community work together to make character and plots or something of that nature. I personally really love this idea. I know it's a huge undertaking, but I love the idea too much to let it go. I was wondering what you think of that. Now, P.S. Thanks for all the content. I've learned so much from you, not only in the way of history, but also ways to look at history and take it in a different perspective, and a lot about storytelling. I want to thank you so much, so thanks. You're very welcome, Eric Bliss. And as for your question about the creating my own world, that is the Raven Lord lore. I'm still working it out because I've had a lot of people who've shown interest in it, and it's taking me a while to insert everybody in. Story writing takes time, and if I also want to make my videos for YouTube, I need time to work on that too. So don't worry, you'll get an update on that sooner rather than later. But yeah, if you want to add your stuff into the Raven Lord, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Kyrian W. said, you had a collab recently with Slanderous on their channel. Are there any other YouTubers you would want to collaborate with as well? I would give my left arm to collaborate with someone like Shadversity. That would be amazing. I would love to collaborate with Shadversity. He's one of my big heroes on YouTube. I would love to be on an episode with him. I also really admire Mauler and his EFAT podcast series. I really wish that I could be on that too. I just don't know what I'd contribute. So there are lots of people I'd love to collab with. I just don't think I ever will, or whether or not they'll even notice me. So for now, I'll stick with folks that know me. like Slanderous and folks like them. And this isn't a bash on Slanderous. He's an excellent YouTuber, and I really do admire him. He makes a lot of good content. I actually feel very much like I'm not nearly on his level, which is very unfortunate. I think that Slanderous is awesome, and I'd love to be a YouTuber of his caliber. But there are lots of people I'd love to do collabs with. I just don't know what I'd add. Because if I did do a collab with Shadversity, what would I add? He already knows, if not as much, way more than what I know about a lot of these topics. So what could I add other than an outsider's perspective? I'm not an expert on the game, so if Shad decided to do a video dedicated to For Honor, what could I add other than, I know the lore? He probably already knows it too. And he's a writer too. Yeah, I've read Shadversity's book. It is really good. Very good writing. So yeah, I don't know what I could offer him. Shadversity is like me on steroids, just a million times better. And Australian, that's even better. Alright, so, next question. Power Pope asks, ooh, the Pope, sweet. What are your personal thoughts on the For Honor devs bringing back old events? Oh, I like it. I'm fine with them bringing back old events as long as the old events are entertaining. Like, I really want them to bring back the Jormungandr event. I want them to bring back that breach mode with Jormungandr. That was one of my favorites. Bring that back, please. I like the Hitakiri event that they want to bring back. That's a cool event. See, there's some good ones, and it keeps people entertained. And also, I like it because what if there were some people who are brand new to For Honor or left For Honor behind for a while and are now back and didn't get to partake in these events? Hey, we're bringing back this event you missed or weren't a part of yet, and then they get to, try it out. So, I think that's awesome. Ignacio Flores says, hey Raven, I want to be a math and physics teacher. I wanted to know your opinion on the following questions, okay? Please note, I'm not a math or physics professor, okay? Number one, do you think that math and physics are taught correctly? Sometimes, as long as they keep critical race theory out of it. Number two, did you like studying math and physics in school? Why? Math was never my strong suit. I was never very good at math outside of Algebra 2. Once I got past that, I struggled a lot. Geometry I was okay at, but once you get into stuff like calculus, it goes over my head. And as for physics, physics is a science area that I am okay at. I think for me, I just had to have a personal invested interest in the subject matter. So please don't take what I say as gospel, okay? It doesn't, just because I don't like it as much doesn't mean that it's bad. And number three, what piece of advice would you give to someone that wants to start teaching? Okay, this I can answer. I can answer this one a little bit better. So to start teaching, first of all, you need to crank your patience up to 11. You're going to be dealing with students who don't have any interest in what you have to say. You're going to be dealing with students who think that they know everything. And if you question them on this, it questions their worldview that they know everything, and they're going to want to combat you on it. Depending on the school you teach at, because I taught in a Title I school, a very high poverty school, which means that most of the students there come from impoverished homes. Their parents don't have to pay for tuition. The government pays for tuition. They feel like they're getting a free meal ticket every time they come to school. They feel very entitled. So they're not going to want to listen to you. If you want to be a teacher, you need to be very patient with them and with yourself. You need to find other teachers who teach your subject matter or understand your subject matter to offer help. Ask if they have any lesson plans that you could borrow. Ask if they have any strategies or styles that you could learn from. Ask if you can sit in and observe a class. See how they handle discipline and stuff, because you need to get a handle on that. I also recommend making friends with some of the administration. If you have at least one friend in administration, be it the vice principal, or heck, even the school nurse, that's going to help you out because these people know the students very well and they will understand how to best deal with them. And also recognize that your teaching style is not necessarily bad just because some students don't learn from it. Every teacher teaches a little differently, and that's why kids will remember you, either for bad or for good. You're going to have students, and this is true, I still have them. Even though teaching didn't work out very well for me, I still have students who contact me to this day to tell me how they're doing and that I was an inspiration to them. That's not me bragging, it's true. I have an email from one of my students who said she was never going to go to college. She's in college. You're going to have students who really take a lot from you. And you need to hold on to those good moments. It's not easy. Teaching is never easy. Good Lord. There were days where I genuinely did not enjoy teaching. I was diagnosed with depression because of my second year of teaching. It is not easy. But the thing is, one thing that I would change about myself is I would learn patience and learn to accept that I'm not always going to win the hearts and minds of my students. So that's what I would say to that. Love your content and congratulations for the 10K subs. I hope your channel keeps growing. Love from Argentina. Well, thank you, Ignacio Flores. Wish you luck in your teaching. If you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll be happy to help. Although I can't say I'm an expert. Superhero Genius asks, how do you create lore for characters in For Honor? Oh, that's easy. So I start with the character, and I think about their personality in the game. So, like, for example, let's work with one like Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper strikes me as this girl who has a lot of baggage. She's the kind of girl who struggled growing up, or struggled in a home life, and gave herself over to the church or to an order, and became an assassin as a result. What kind of character is that? What kind of struggles did they have? So I create the struggle. That helps me create the character. That character helps me create a personality. That personality helps me drive their goal. That goal helps me drive the story, and thus I have a plot. The best example I can think of is Ruth. Me and my brother were playing around with For Honor, had the female warden, and when we were thinking about the lore, the question that I thought about is, wardens are people who swear their oaths to righteousness and holiness and protecting the weak. But didn't some Vikings feel the same way? Because some Vikings became knights. Would some Vikings swear to the same oaths? What if we had a Viking who became a knight? So we said, let's do that. So we ended up creating Ruth. Sometimes you just got to let your creativity fly. That's what it takes. Next one. Delta Dragon. Cool name. What if in alternative reality, where everything is more or less the same, but you are part of a different religion? What religion would you be part of? I need to drink something before I answer this one. Because that's a tough question. And let me tell you why. So many people think of religion as just a label. Like, okay, your name is Charlie, you're a Buddhist, you're white, and you have blonde hair. Okay, down to the left. It's not just a label. When you prescribe yourself to a faith, you take it to be truth. I take the gospel, Christianity, as truth. So by asking me what other religion would I be, that's saying, okay, deny this truth and pick a new truth. I can't do that. That's like saying, okay, deny the truth that the sky is blue, pick a new truth where the sky is another color. Why would I do that when I already know the truth? If there was another reality where I was not a Christian, it would have to be a reality where Christ never came. And in that reality, I would be a Jew. I would be Jewish. Because Judaism, Jews are the chosen people of God. Jesus Christ himself was a Jew. He was born to the Jewish people and came to save the Jewish people. So, I would be Jewish because that's the next best thing, in my opinion. Also, another way I could do it is I could be Catholic. Because I'm a Protestant. I'm a Baptist Christian. I suppose I could be a Catholic. Because sometimes people will argue that Catholicism and Protestantism are two different religions entirely. I don't fully prescribe to that, but it would be the next best thing, so that would be what I say. Now, of course, I know you're saying, oh, it's not what I really meant. You want me to pick a non-Judeo-Christian religion.
Too bad.
Yeah, again, too bad. That's I know the truth, and the truth is what I prescribe to. Sorry. That may sound mean, but I'm not changing my faith. Haith Walton says, what is your favorite category of warriors in history? Like horseback, archers, swordsmen, pikemen? Definitely swordsmen. You can't go wrong with cool swordsmen. I love swordsmen. Sword fighting's awesome. Black Mercury 279 says, I vaguely remember you stating that you majored in Japanese or Asian history in college. During the last video, I was able to live stream. It wasn't a major, it was a minor, but I digress. So my question is, during your time in college, did you take the time to study other histories and cultures, or did you get to them later on? I studied most of them later on. Because I wanted to study them more as I got further in. But I did do an Asian history in college. I minored in it. It was awesome. I enjoyed that. But I did most of my other history outside of my college courses. I had a few other history classes, but Asian history and culture was what I minored in. Another question I'd like to ask, there's more. Another question I'd like to ask is, how are you able to find and affirm if the sources you look into are historically accurate if one was to look up research on their own? What would you consider credible sources, and how would you be able to distinguish them from the more exaggerated ones? So that's a good question. How am I able to confirm that the sources I look up are accurate? Usually I do that by looking up multiple sources for the same topic. So say that I'm looking up information about Japanese history. And I'm looking up, actually, here's a good one. When I was trying to figure out what Kyoshin was supposed to be based on, The very first article I looked up was that they were based on Yamabushi. Cool, but I wanted to find more. So I looked for another source, and another source, and another source. And I started reading them very carefully, looking for similarities. I also tried to look for the specific kind of language. You can usually tell a bad article by loaded language, and what that means is this. Loaded language is where what you say carries a degree of personal bias or emotion to it. Like, think of it like this. Two different ways to look at it. In fact, I would argue that Extra Credits, the channel that I responded to, I think 3 times now, I think that they are guilty of this. In one of their videos where they were talking about a queen of the Congo or queen of this African nation, the reason why, who was it, the Portuguese or the Dutch?
It was Portuguese.
The Portuguese. Thought it was Portuguese. The reason the Portuguese didn't want to trade with her is because in their culture, women usually weren't leaders. Now, there are two ways that they could have explained that fact. They could have said, at this point in time, the Portuguese did not believe that female leaders were viable, and thus they didn't want to do trade with a female leader. The way they said it was, the reason they didn't want to trade with her is because, believe it or not, it's a woman's in charge. So which one's more loaded? Whenever you hear a source use that kind of language or that kind of rhetoric, I would very much be careful using it. Loaded language is a pretty good sign that the person doesn't know what they're talking about, or they are trying to lean you in a specific way. So look for sources that are not going to be biased or use that kind of loaded language. Look for more than one source to find different examples. And I would even play devil's advocate and look for sources that you're not going to agree with, because it will give you a better idea of what you're looking at. I've read books about jihad even though I'm a Christian. I don't believe that the Crusades were an evil act, but I look at sources that say they were so that I can better understand how both sides look at the argument. So that would be my piece of advice there. Oh God, another one. My last question is a bit personal. I remember you saying you work at a restaurant. Have you ever considered teaching in schools, colleges, as a history teacher, professor? I was a teacher. Do I want to be a professor? That'd be cool, but I need to go back to school, and I'm not financially able to. Is the restaurant you currently work at is you currently work with family owned? No. Do you have your own family, wife, and kids? Not for lack of trying.
If you do, you've been hiding them pretty well.
I don't have a wife or children. I want to have a wife and children. I very much want to get married. I want to have a woman in my life who loves me and I love her. I want to have kids. I do want to have my own family. I almost got married once. I was gonna ask Duyan if she wanted to marry me, but that didn't work out. That's a little emotional. No, I haven't. I'm not married. I don't have a family of my own. I wish I did. Yeah. Breaks my heart a little bit. Anyway, let's move on. Thunder Dragon 17. If For Honor was to have a second story mode, what would you want it to have? Plot, characters, locations. I'd love for it to explore the Chimera and Horkos battle more. Or I'd love it to go ahead and go into For Honor and Glory. Get them orcs in there. Have the orcs go in and start a little bit of a war party, you know? Get the right kind of docker, a few stupid homies to fight against. Be a right good time, it will. I'd like that. Chaos51 asks, have you ever done a D&D or Pathfinder campaign? I feel like you'd be good at it. Yeah, bro, you said the same thing. People think that I'd be good at being a D&D like dungeon master or something. I've never played D&D. I might need to look into this because everyone keeps saying I'd be good at it. All right. Mamma Mia Zachariah says, what idea for a next faction of For Honor would you want most? For example, Ottomans, Egyptians, or even Native Americans? That's a good question. I'd really like a Rajput faction. I'm sorry, I want a Rajput faction. I think that they'd be awesome. You got a lot of very creative weapons from them, some creative armor styles. That'd be a cool faction to add. Dev team, get to work. Yeah, that's my answer. Literal Cancer. What are you doing in me? You're the person I keep fighting all the time. I'm always fighting against cancer. No, see, I'm joking. Literal Cancer. If you were to become a fantasy boss battle, what would be your theme? Cool mechanic, weapon, boss room. What would be my... If I was a boss in a fantasy world? I don't know. I never thought of myself as a RPG boss or anything. Okay, I'd probably wield a long sword. Go ahead and design me like the Raven Lord. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. My cool mechanic? Ooh, it'd be cool if I could summon up shadowy wings, you know, like Raven wings and fly. Or maybe I could summon up shadowy tendrils from the ground and use them to attack in a specific direction or multiple directions, forcing like an area of effect attack that the player has to dodge out of the way of. My boss music? I'd probably use the Order 66 theme done by, what's his name again, bro? Sam something?
Sam something.
Look it up and let me know. But I'd use his kind of music because I really like his music. And my boss room would be a cathedral, like a big open cathedral. Samuel Kim. Look up Order 66 theme from Samuel Kim. That'd be really cool. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. I might leave it in the description if I remember. But the boss room would be a big old open cathedral, I think, with holy light shining through. It'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I've never thought about that. Congrats on the milestone, dude. Been here since you were criminally underrated. You sparked my interest in history, and I'm glad you're getting the attention you deserve. Thank you. Literal cancer. I appreciate that. The Russian Knight. What's your favorite pizza topping? Sausage. Give me some freaking sausage. I love pizza with sausage. It's the best. Kurt251. Will you ever bring back the Assassin's Creed graded series? Still waiting on the other games from the Ezio Trilogy. We stopped doing those only because no one seemed interested. But if you're really interested, we'll go back to them. We don't mind doing it. It's just no one really seemed that interested. But to be fair, we started that series back when the channel was still, again, criminally underrated. So we might just go back to that. Okay, yeah. Give us some time to go back into the other games and rewrite the scripts. We'll do it. Cough the D&D player. Raven, I have two questions. I will answer both. First, is there a way to voice act in some of your projects? There was once. But the problem is it's very difficult getting that logistics down. Getting everyone's voices onto my computer with the way it acts. I don't know. We'll see. I'll work out a way. I'll try to figure out a way. Secondly, how did you come up with the idea for Honor and Glory? Truth be told, For Honor and Glory started out as an idea, a very similar idea, where I thought of a Byzantium invasion of the For Honor world, but didn't go anywhere. Thought we could do better, and then I got into Warhammer 40k and thought about, wouldn't it be cool if orcs showed up? And my brother pointed out they'd have to be fantasy or they'd have to be feral, because if you bring in actual 40k orcs, they're going to destroy everything. And I thought, okay, let's make them feral. Is that a way it could work? And my bro said, well, yeah, there is a way that could work. And so we made it happen. That's what I just thought, wouldn't that be so much fun? For create a new enemy that the For Honor warriors have to unite against. That'd be a lot of fun. So that's where that came from. Mishka Krostalov. What a name. I hope I said that right. If you could delete one character from For Honor, who would it be? Kensei. I would delete Kensei. I know you disagree, bro. I know you.
It's either Kensei or Aramusha.
Yeah, and for my brother, it's either Kensei or Aramusha. Okay, so Kensei would be who I delete, just because I think that they are the epitome of toxic characters. Just this and what I hate about it is people the problem that I have with Kensei is Kensei either light spams, or they take advantage of that hyper armor, or it's just so annoying. And then what I hate about it is then you'll get people who start emote spamming as Kensei, or they go into that unblockable everything, like they use that fourth feat that lets everything unblockable, and then they just light spam you to death. And I'm like, you're already OP as it gets, don't make it worse. Everyone says, oh, they're balanced, you're just not good at blocking light spam. To heck with you. What if that's my question? Oh, you just need to get better at blocking light spam. Oh, is that right? Then why do you use light spam? Like, if it's something so easy to overcome, why do you use light spam? Get rid of Kensei, or at least fix Kensei. The developers did good with their Orochi rework, where they got rid of Orochi's light spam. Can't you do it with Kensei? Sorry, that kind of pisses me off. Kensei's always been an annoying one to me. Daedric Healer. You said you cook at a restaurant, right? If so, then I gotta ask, what is your favorite food to cook or make? I love... Okay. What's your favorite thing that I make?
Well, there's two things I like that you make. However, you make neither for the restaurant. Your chocolate delight, which, if you don't know, is basically, imagine a chocolate chip cookie layer at the bottom. Above that, sort of like chocolate pudding with sort of Cool Whip on top, or Cool Whip for some of you enthusiasts out there. Sprinkle with chocolate chips.
Yeah, I love making chocolate delight, but what's the other one?
I also really like chicken a la boubou.
Chicken a la boubou, that's a good one to make.
It's
I also like making cream cheese chicken chili. I think cream cheese chicken chili is one of my favorites.
That's good. I also like the pork teriyaki. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But the chicken a la boubou, it's nice. It's very easy to make, and originally a family friend made it, but he improvised the recipe, so good stuff. I
also like making spaghetti.
Chicken a la boubou is spaghetti, but better. So.
Anyway, moving on. Legendary system. If you were to choose to become a warrior of a sort, like a samurai, for example, what will this warrior be and why? A knight. Because knights are awesome, and because I have ancestors who were knights, so I want to be a knight. Easy enough. Fox's Apprentice. My question is, what inspired you to start a YouTube channel? I answered that. Just go back to my very first question, and I answered there. Frosty the Harbinger. My question is, what was your favorite part about studying history, and what is the funniest misconception about any history you've ever seen? Okay. Earlier I was asked the worst misconception. What's the funniest misconception? I think the funniest misconception I hear is that long swords cannot... No, that's not it. That's not it. I think the funniest misconception in history is when people say that the samurai and their ilk were the most legendary warriors in history. That they could cut through steel, that they had this high sense of honor, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't make me mad, I just think it's funny, because it's built entirely on pop culture. And I think any historical misconception built on pop culture is hilarious. Like, people saying that knights steel armor is useless. Like, I like Shadversity's fight scene autopsies, especially his Narnian ones, where he invented the phrase lightsaber, because in those he points out there are moments where the armor should be working, but they just cut through them anyway. So I think that those are my favorite historical misconceptions, the funny ones where they say, "Oh, this is what this movie showed, so therefore." Bullethead1010 says, "Okay, a couple of questions. I know a couple people have already asked, but I'm interested in about what got you into writing and what motivates you to keep writing. Also, have you ever played D&D?" I've not played D&D. People tell me I should. What motivates me to keep writing? I love making stories. Making stories is a lot of fun. I love to create new things, create new ideas, create new characters. It's something I love to do. So writing is just a really fun aspect of my day-to-day life. So, and what got me into writing? I think I already answered that. Papa Chase says, "What is your advice in writing novels?" I answered that too. It's just getting into it. It's, just getting over that first hurdle of no one's going to like what I write, I shouldn't do it, giving up before you even get started. If you can get over that hurdle, the rest of it becomes a little bit easier. Lil Frick asks, "What character do you think is most historically accurate?" I assume you mean in For Honor. None of them. There are none there that I think are really historically accurate. If I had to pick, Warlord's kind of close. Closer than others. Zhang Jun looks a lot like Guan Yu. None of them are very historically accurate. I gotta either Warlord or Zhang Jun. Those are the closest, I think. Maybe Warden. Maybe. I don't know. Which character is your favorite lore-wise? Blackprior, probably. I've always liked this idea of a dark knight searching for redemption. Also, congrats on 10,000K. You're definitely deserve it and so much more. Thank you, Little Frick. I appreciate that. Fiery Bee says, "Law Daddy or War Mommy?" War Mommy. Standard, what is your favorite country you have visited? Sadly, I haven't gone outside this country. I wanted to. I was actually going to go to Japan for the Olympics. Then they shut down the country to the travelers other than the Olympic teams. So that didn't happen. I almost went to Japan, guys. I almost did it. Don't worry, there'll be other opportunities. Once this whole COVID thing passes, I'm sure I'll get a chance. And I will. I will go to Japan. God Rex says, will you be doing more videos on the Crusades? Please and thank you. Yes. I'll be doing more videos on the Crusades. Eventually. Nidus Glacia says, I know you have spoken about Warhammer 40k before, as clearly shown for Honor and Glory, so I'm curious about what your favorite Space Marine, Legion, and or chapter is. The Black Templars. They're awesome. Pretty generic question, I know, but I do find myself curious about it, as I have only recently begun looking into 40k lore. Oh, and edit, congrats on 10k subs, by the way. Thank you very much, Nidus. But yeah, I think it would have to be the Black Templar. I think they're really awesome. If I had to pick somebody besides the Black Templar, either the Grey Knights or the Raven Guard, just because it fits so well, you know. TV Tantrum says, would you ever be interested in doing how historically accurate the show The Last Kingdom is? The show is about England, is around England trying to be formed with Saxons against Danes, and shows true events that happen, mixed with fiction, though, to make the show interesting. I need to watch it, but sure, I wouldn't mind doing a response or talk about that. Gudra, the all-time classic, you like jazz? Yes, I like jazz. Jazz is awesome. I'm more into cabaret, but jazz is good because jazz can be used in cabaret. Tala Hussein asks, thoughts on the new hero in For Honor? Stay tuned for that. I love Kyoshin. Kyoshin is really, really fun. It's the first time in recent memory that they've released a new hero in For Honor that I genuinely think is very balanced. There are very few things that I'd want to change about them, except maybe their hitbox, because I think their hitbox is a little wonky, and one of their combos is a little funky, but I'll talk about that in a live stream. Davi Krajewski? I want to say Davi Krajewski. When do you think For Honor is going to end? Oh, that's a good question. Okay. For Honor is going to end when the developers no longer can see any money-making potential in it, or when they run out of character ideas. When they run out of character ideas, they're going to try to make maps, they're going to try to make game modes, they're going to try to make downloadable content. But when people no longer have new heroes to play, eventually people will get tired of it, and I think that it will start to go downhill. I give it another 2 or 3 years, and then I think we'll start to see For Honor start to go down here. I hate that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it goes much longer than that, because some games do. Some games do go much longer. I really hope it goes longer. I love For Honor. I want it to stay as long as possible. Don't make me depressed. I want to be happy today. Pumpkin Plumpkin asks, what stopped you from going into law enforcement and or being a cop, and do you ever regret not joining? There are times I regret not joining. I stopped going because college took me in a different direction, and I didn't feel God pulling me in that direction. Probably for the best, because the way cops are treated nowadays by the common people, I feel like being a cop is almost not worth it. I respect police officers. I respect law enforcement. But I think that it's too dangerous now. I know that cops are supposed to put their lives on the line for the common people, but when the common people hate you anyway, regardless of what you do, it just feels like it's harder and harder to want to be a police officer. Eamon asks, what is your favorite weapon, uniform, and armor style of all time? 14th to 15th century knight armor and long swords. Yep, those are my favorites. I really, really like that. Now, but you're saying of all time. Well, then in that case, we can go into the future. And if we're going into the future, I'm looking at those really cool body armor style suits that you see in futuristic sci-fi movies. Yeah. I was ran over says, oh, I'm sorry you got ran over. I was ran over says, do you think Astria and the new Kyoshin main character will agree or disagree with each other's motives, or will they unite to strike against Griffin and Chimera? No, Kyoshin will not side with Astria or Chimera. Kyoshin their whole lore is about finding balance in all things. Finding balance in nature, finding balance in the spiritual, finding balance in the physical. And in this balance of nature, neither side should grow stronger than the other. So if Chimera is getting too strong, he may work to help Horkos. If Horkos is getting too strong, he may work to help Chimera. Because to them, it's not about good versus evil. It's about choosing the path that creates balance. That creates a perfect weight. So that's my answer to that. Chris Bouldersbane says, why do you like For Honor so much, and what is your favorite thing about it and your top 5 video games of all time? I answered why I like For Honor so much because it scratches that personal itch of mine for a historical fighting game that I can actually enjoy. What's my favorite thing about it? I love the different cultures you can play as. I love the different characters you can play as and the uniqueness of each character. And my top 10 video games of all time, For Honor is one of them, obviously, so I'll count that. Skyrim. Skyrim is definitely up there. One of my favorites. It's awesome. I love, 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 love Skyrim. Shoot, this is a tough one. I gotta say, I really loved Assassin's Creed Revelation. I liked that one. That was a lot of fun. Very, very sad game. Very good closure to the Assassin's Creed series. But, of course, it didn't close the series. It went on from there, but I digress. So that's 3. Why is this so hard? There are lots of games I like. I haven't given it a lot of thought about my top 5 favorites. What do you think, bro? What's the game that you think that I play a whole lot?
Well, you really don't play with Star Wars Battlefront 2, 2005, remember?
Oh, yeah, the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 was one of my favorites. I'll give it that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Solitaire.
No, not Solitaire. Ooh, this is a tough one.
Sly Cooper 3 was one of your favorites.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a long time, but Sly Cooper 3 was a fun one. It's a very nostalgic game for me. Yeah. I'll give it that. So yeah, those are probably my top 5. Of course, I haven't had a lot of time to think on it. If I had more time to think on it, I'd probably know more. But honestly, I'm just now reading these questions today. I didn't want to have like pre-planning for this. I wanted to kind of read these fresh. So know that that's the reason. Okay, next question. That one Peacekeeper asked. Ooh, I have a Peacekeeper. That one Peacekeeper asked. All right, got a question for the Lord himself. Ooh, crazy. From what we know so far about both Horkos and Chimera, what faction would you say has the better chance of surviving the current drought in Heathmore? Good question. Both sides have their advantages and disadvantages. Chimera, I think, has an advantage in the fact that it's already established good relations with other groups, and so those groups are going to want to help each other out, so any resources they have, they're going to want to share. The downside is when you bring together the desperate and the destitute as part of your masses, and you can no longer provide for them, unity's going to break apart. Horkos has the advantage of already having the mentality of the weak don't deserve anything. So if you're too weak to cut it, you don't get water, we're going to just cut out the middleman. So they're only going to give their resources to those who they feel deserve it. The bad side about that is that's going to cut their forces in half because they will only have limited resources to give. And if they just let the people who they don't give resources to die, then you're down a lot of people. I think at the end of the day, Chimera is going to come out on top. Just because I think that they have the potential to acquire more resources from other sources. And Horkos is just going to whittle down their forces so much that by the time the drought is over, they're going to be at half capacity while Chimera has bolstered again. So that's my thought. Geist Draken asks, what is your opinion on LARPing, and do you think someone could make a more realistic version that would be both fun and educational? I think LARPing is entertaining. I like watching people do it. It's fun. I've never done it myself. I think there is a historical way to do it if you did it based on historical battles, but we would call that historical battle reenactments. And people do that all the time. Go to historical battlefields and look around for the people doing historical reenactments. They do them quite a lot. Hadras asks, what is your favorite weapon overall? Longsword. I love longswords, the aesthetic, everything about it. It's awesome. Sorry. I know that I like katanas. It's actually kind of funny. My brother invited me to speak to his class one day and share some of my weapons, and a lot of them were big anime fans. And they were saying, and they asked me, which sword is your favorite? And I said the longsword, and they were all kind of disappointed. Oh, we thought you were going to say katana. And I'm like, oh, I love the katana. I think it's really cool. It's not my first choice. Maybe my third. Cars the Ultimate Life Form says, thoughts on a Mongol-style hero for the Wulin, particularly with a two-handed saber or any other weapon you think of them fit, or think would be fitting. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to have a Mongolian hero, although I think that Griffin is already dressed as one. Burke23 asks, do you think that the Jedi and the Sith are more like knights or samurai? Sounds like an obvious question, but I don't know if I'm right. The Jedi call themselves knights, but their philosophy and way of acting is more samurai. They're basically monks. They're basically living according to an ideology of balance. Their fighting style is built around, I believe, kendo-style fighting methods. I would compare them more readily to samurai than I would to knights. They're built around an order, which is very much like a knight, but they don't swear themselves to fealty like one. They wish to practice peace and betterness in themselves, which is very samurai. But they don't have a daimyo ruler like the samurai, so it's... Ishtarde says, I would like to know how come you find Apollyon to be such a good character. I did 2 whole videos. One of them kind of got me really popular on why I think Apollyon's awesome, but I'll give you a brief summary here. I think Apollyon is a great character because villains are fascinating to me, and not only that, I think that she does something that most villains don't do. Most villains are trying to do the right thing in their own eyes, but go about it in the wrong way. She's doing the right thing and going about it in the wrong way by our standard, but by her standard, it is 100% the right thing. For example, she thinks that war is the natural state of humanity. Rather than just gather together an army and go to war, she tricks the factions into going to war against her, then allows herself to die, because I think that she wanted to die, dies so that then there's no common ground for them to stand on anymore, so then they all turn on each other. And even though she lost, she still won. And here's the crazy thing about that. I'm glad Apollyon won. I'm glad Apollyon got what she wanted. It's one of the few moments where I can say about a villain, I'm glad that the villain got what they wanted in the end. Even if I agree or sympathize with the villain in most stories, I still don't want them to win. In Apollyon's case, I wanted her to win. Imagine if Apollyon lost. Imagine if the war stopped after she died. Like, they all said, okay, we're going to go to peace now. No more game. No more For Honor. No more war. Apollyon's death helped establish a war again that we could all enjoy. It's very ironic. She says war is what all mankind strives for, and you know what? She's right. That's why we all bought the game in the first place. We didn't buy the game to fight for peace. We bought the game to fight a war. And Apollyon gave us the war. I think the way she went about it was very creative. I think her plan was very well enacted. I think she has a great personality. I think she has a great motivation. I think her backstory is very interesting. I think her design is very cool. And I know a lot of people say, oh, she's just a war is good character. And I always say, okay, yes. Name me another character who does it better. I don't know many characters in media who want to start a war just for the reason of war is what we want. They always want an end goal. They always want an end goal out of it where they come out on top. Apollyon didn't want that. She wanted to save Heathmore by revitalizing the war, which I think is fascinating. But if you want more details on that, go see my 2 videos. All right. Whew. 2 more pages of these to go, guys. I'm working as fast as I can. Echo. Okay, then I have to ask for my one question on For Honor. What is your views on the roleplay groups? And also, thank you for the content. I don't know much about the roleplay groups. I think they can be fine if you want to roleplay. I mean, I insert my own kind of roleplay ideas. Jaguar Warrior says, how can I write a betrayal in my comics? Specifically a betrayal from an empire who is allied with a kingdom the hero is protecting. Do it. Write a betrayal. First, create the empire, create their goal, create their desire, create the kingdom with the same things, then establish a means by which the empire wants to reach their own goals by stepping over the kingdom. That's how you do it. FH Demigodzilla says, out of all the weapons they could put in For Honor and outside of the Xi'an from the Wulin, what weapon for the other factions do you wish to see them use for new heroes? I would love the Vikings to get an axe and shield. I would love the Knights to get a two-handed mace. I would love the Samurai to get a Nagamaki or something along those lines. And for the Wulin, I'd also like a whip chain. Give me those things. Those are some ideas. Rogers Rabbit says, since we're seeing that each faction will get 2 new heroes, what 2 do you think the Wulin will receive? And with what weapons do you want the most? For the Wulin, I want them to get a whip chain, like I said, and I want them to get the Xi'an. Boom! There we go. McShred says, what are your opinions on early firearms, such as them starting out as a tube being stuck onto the end of a pole? I get peeved that every medieval fantasy I come across just jumps straight to flintlocks or matchlock arquebuses as soon as gunpowder is discovered. I like firearms. I think that they're cool. I think medieval firearms are awesome. They need to be war viable, though. So, I think that creating flintlock and matchlock pistols or guns for your historical battle or game is fair enough. I don't have a problem with it. A Goblin says, yo Doc, can I get some ice cream? Sure. Just a Penguin asks, didn't I do one for you? Just a Penguin asks, may I refer to you as father? And what are your thoughts on the state of democracy in Myanmar? It has a democracy?
We're still in a civil war.
Yeah, that's what I thought. A Goblin has a few more questions, okay? Will you look into and try Hellish Court and Bannerlord and Shogun 2 stuff? If I have the time and the money. And will you consider like a meme character review series where you can look through characters people have made on this server and rate them and give feedback? I feel it would encourage people to make more characters and help them improve, especially me. I need all the help I can get. I'm an illiterate troll. Those were 2 extra questions to my other 3 I asked before. Yes. At some point, I will look over all the characters that my community has created. I will discuss them and have some fun with them. I will try to do that sometime in the future. Wolf Dragon asks, what is your opinion on steampunk? It's a style. I don't quite get it myself, but it is definitely a style. I appreciate steampunk for getting people interested in Victorian culture, but I'm not into it. Jaguar Warrior asks, again, I want to make an empire for my story that are about Cherokee, Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, and Hawaiian people. Basically America before it was colonized. Well, you go right ahead. Don't be surprised when they are invaded by a Western faction. Just saying. I mean, go for it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I think it'll be cool. But another thing I'll point out is that's not a question. Shinobi 187 asks, what if For Honor had a naval warfare mode? Would you be into that, Raven? Yes. All the yes. So much yes. I have wanted that for a while. Get some ship action going on. Maybe have the ship rock a lot so that it messes with the zones. Like, I had this idea. Okay, you're on a ship, right? And it's stormy. And you're fighting in the center of the ship, just like a Dominion. And you have zones on either side of the ship. But then, like, a wave comes and rocks the ship real hard. So the zones reset. And you have to go and try to retake them again. Kind of like what they did with the Kyoshin event mode. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be a great idea. Alright. Hadris asks, and this is the last question. Raven, what advice would you give to someone younger than you? Wow. Okay. It's a good question, and it's a good one to end on. It depends on how much younger, but in a general sense. What I would say is this. Life is not something you want to rush through. When you're younger, you have this idea that the world is just waiting for you to take advantage of it, or it's waiting to take advantage of you. And you feel like you need to rush through your life to reach success. If you don't do this right now, you're going to be in trouble. If I don't have a plan for my life right now, I'm in trouble. If I don't start focusing on my career right now, I'm going to be in trouble. I had that mentality too, and it drove me crazy. I'm not saying be lazy. I'm not saying be lethargic. I'm saying take life at a slower pace. Because when you do that, you'll be able to appreciate the things you have now. And by appreciating the things you have now, when you get to be my age, 28, you will look back on life with a lot more reverence and a lot more joy. I have a lot of things I look back on and I regret. I regret a lot of things as I look back on life. I made a lot of mistakes. And a lot of them were because I was trying to push things that didn't matter. I wanted to be popular, so I made decisions to try to be popular that made me look stupid. I wanted to be a sports all-star, so I joined sports teams that I didn't enjoy being part of. I wanted to be social. I wanted to have friends, so I made friends with people I really shouldn't have made friends with. I made a lot of mistakes. I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of. I would also recommend finding a goal, not a career yet, but a goal, something you want to achieve. And even if it's something as small as, I want to get an A on my next test, or I want to go to the beach this summer, or I want to spend a day with my mom and or dad. Whatever it is. Pick something that you want to strive to do, and then lay out your plan and your budget for how you're going to reach it. Those small things will pay off later in your life when you get older. Because now I'm having to do stuff like, okay, I want to go on a vacation with my brother. I need to set aside money so that I can do that. That means I need to plan to work these days out of the week. Or say, I need to make this video about Kyoshin on this day. That means I need to set aside these days and these hours for not gaming, not working out, work on editing that video. Budgeting your time and energy is going to come in handy. And a lot of this stuff you're probably not worried about because you're a kid and you should just try to be a kid. You know, you're younger than me. Now, of course, if you're 20, you're technically younger than me in that case, and in that case, you're probably still in college. Take college one step at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself with necessity of, I need to know what I'm doing with my life. I didn't know what I was doing with myself until I was a junior in college. It took me a while to get my life together. It took me a while to get my plan down. There is no rush. Life will wait for you. That isn't to say be lackadaisical. That just means don't feel like you have to rush anything. Take your time. The good Lord will lead you down the path in His timing. Find something you believe in. Find a goal to achieve. Find a budget to help you reach those things. And don't be afraid to stick up for yourself. That's the other thing I'd say. In college, I've seen the underbelly of society. I've seen people who demand that you conform or be pushed aside. I was in those classes. I sat in a class where I dealt with a professor who was very much a fruitcake. Very much someone who said, conform to my way of thinking or you will be a pariah. And I said, bring it on. And I was a pariah, but I never regretted a moment in that class because I stood up for myself. And how do you stand up for yourself? Research, learn, grow, question. Don't be a sheep. Yeah, I know. Thank you, warmonger. Don't be a sheep. Don't just accept everything that you hear. Don't accept everything as gospel. Think. Seek proof. Seek social visits. Seek community. These things will help you. You will learn by interacting with other people. You will learn by growing as a person. That would be any advice I give to people younger than me. And of course there's more, but I'm already going way over the time that I thought I would. Anyway, guys, that was the last question. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This has been a very interesting experience. Apparently I've been going for almost an hour and 20 minutes. I need to go ahead and stop here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you guys for helping me reach 10,000 subs. This is a huge milestone. A lot of those questions weren't as personal as I was expecting, but I hope that I answered them as best as I could. If you haven't already subbed and you watched this far into the video, I commend you. Go ahead and give it a sub. Help me reach 11,000. That'll be awesome. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below with other questions you may have, and I'll try to answer them. And with just your thoughts on the channel reaching where it is in general. Thank you so much, you guys. You guys are awesome. You're the reason I'm here and the reason I keep making videos. Again, thank you so much. And I will see you in my next video. Take care.